team can truly only be as successful as your systems are. You can't expect somebody to come in and just be told, answer the phone. Everybody has those. I know you do. You have a checklist and it's like, turn off the lights, empty the garbage, run the suctions, all these things. And the team would just write their name at the top of the list and then draw a line through it. And I would walk through at the end of the day, lights are still on in op 4. What is it that we want in our practice so that we don't have a whole team of people, so-and-so called in today and they're freaking out and panicking and everybody is just clicking. The machine just keeps moving forward.
This is Dental All Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training.
Welcome to Dental All Stars. I'm Alex Nottingham, founder and CEO of All Star Dental Academy. And with me is Shelly VanEpps, the Chief Operating Officer at All Star Dental Academy. And our topic is Systems for Success with Shelly VanEpps. Welcome, Shelly.
Thank you.
Are you doing a little dance? Can you do the dance for the...
That's part of my system. Got to start off with getting pumped up, right?
Getting pumped up.
That's a system of morning huddle. You should always come in all pumped up, right? I'm sure every office that's listening, every doctor that's listening says, my morning huddles are so vibrant. Everybody's really pumped up and excited, but that should be a system. That should be part of the way you start off your day.
Dancing.
But maybe not dancing, but at least awake. Awake is good.
Awake is good.
Awake is good.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this topic was predicated often just our discussions. We're thinking, okay, let's systematize All-Star even more. So just some background, and then we can kind of bring it into the dental space as well. Because there's this adage, the shoe cobbler has no shoes or something, meaning something like you're so good at training others, but are we doing it? Right. Mm-hmm. And then, so we had some positions changed at All-Star, and we were looking to improve our onboarding process. And we're like, well, we don't have it really super systematized. And so you're developing SOPs, standard operating procedures, and you're an operations officer. That sounds good. And they're beautiful. I was very impressed with them. And making sure that for every position, we have step-by-step what to do, all the resources to make it successful. So that's kind of what gave the energy towards this podcast, is to say, hey, we're doing it. Let's also talk about dental offices in terms of how do we systematize it more? What are the benefits? So yeah, that's kind of the issue.
It is. It's a personal issue right now that's hands-on, but also when working with other offices, it's a continual thing. You have somebody who leaves, you have somebody who goes on vacation, you have somebody who gets sick unexpectedly. What are you supposed to do if you don't have these systems written out so clean and clear that anybody could find the resources to be able to be successful, so that you don't have to shut down, you don't have to cancel patients? Aside from a provider, that's a different story, but you should also have a hygienist is calling out, what is our system? What do we need to do when that hygienist gets sick and we have a day full of hygiene patients? Are we bringing an assistant, shifting them over to hygiene? Is it a reschedule? Is it doctors doing hygiene? What is it that we want in our practice so that we don't have a whole team of people, so-and-so called in today and they're freaking out and panicking? No big deal. We know exactly what to do, and everybody is just clicking, and the machine just keeps moving forward, and nobody is surprised. Nobody has to think about and come up with a solution. It's already been thought of. So
I'm thinking in context for a dental office because of course there's systems for everything. Actually, at our last summit, we did the concept of systems, actually. Yeah, we talked about that. That's right. And I did a presentation on that. What I see that's happening for us, and we can translate this to dental office as well. I mean, we have systems, but part of it is not just making the system, but looking at it and improving it. And then how much do you use the system? You can have the best systems in the world, but if you don't use it, they don't make sense. So I want to kind of give a map of where these take place. So, and you have different types of systems, but for All-Star, where we play, we provide a training program, the online training program that has systems in it, that has training in it. Okay, we hold that there. We also have coaching that has its own systems and its own process, but it's the coach that's helping to identify issues. We talk about self-funding coaching, like how do we monetize what's being done so it pays for itself? How do we improve leadership? How do we get it so focusing a lot on action, okay, coaching. So the online is information, the coaching is action. But there's something else that's missing that is very unique to each practice. And that is going to be what do we now titrate it into? Okay, that's the systems part. And then it's the dedication that we stick with it, right?
Exactly.
So
that's the big one. That's the big one.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Because I have a dentist I spoke to the other day, and he's like, I have a system and it was impressive. I have all of it exactly as it's supposed to be, but they're not doing it. So we can focus a little bit of our time on the systems and and how to build them, how to think about them, but then also what do we do about it? How do we make sure that it gets done? What are so that kind of, as we're talking out some, things we want to cover. So in a dental practice, now that I've created context of where everything, because you have clinical training, all these are inputs that we need, but then we have to make it our own. And that's the problem where we start to borrow from other people, or we just say, let me just put this script. It's got to resonate with us. As I watch you put our systems together, they're so specific to the way we do things, to our philosophy, right? So you're the visionary, it's me, right? What do I want from a big picture? The operations officer, that's you're the boss. How are things should operate the way I'm thinking, the way the team's thinking, and you have to take everybody's information and put it into something that makes sense. Everybody's happy, right? So that's what the person does.
Your team can truly only be as successful as your systems are. You can't expect somebody to come in and just be told, answer the phone. Your job is to answer the phone. They will pick it up and go, hello? You have to have a system in place for them, and it needs to be so simple that there's no reason they're not following the great call process. There's no reason that they're not scheduling using your block scheduling, because they understand it and they understand why that system has been in place. It has to be that way, or else you're just rolling the dice every single time that your team answers the phone or schedules, and you never know what you're going to get. Consistency out of your systems. Now you're not blaming your team members. You're not going to them and saying, hey, Shelly, you're not doing your job. You can say, Shelly, we're getting a different result. Are we still following the same system? Did you have to tweak the system? Is tweaking the system the right way? Are we still, achieving our goals every single day? I noticed that I have an emergency right smack in the middle of when I would normally be prepping a crown. Talk to me about that. I broke the system. This is why I broke the system. And maybe they have an excuse, but they shouldn't have an excuse very many times. It should be like a emergency situation that had to happen. So, sorry, Alex.
No, don't. So
Take it away.
that will take it away. You're the interviewee here, but that makes
I'm excited about it.
No, I know, and we were talking today in our meeting. So we have our meetings. We talk about based on rocket fuel. We did a whole section on that. We can revisit that at some point with the podcast about the evolution of meetings and being successful. But I was very inspired by your SOPs. And then I said, oh, well, and that's where I thought about, and as we can talk out here, as we talk about anywhere else, is like the dentist as visionary is very important. As what do you want? What do you see? And that's what we were talking about today. And you did a beautiful job on the SOP for coaching. And I was like, and I like it, but it was very tactical and we need it, but I'm thinking it's missing we have to step back, and that's what we're going to work on in our next major meeting with you, the president of coaching, our director of service and all that, and myself, and saying, okay, well, what are the big overarching themes that convey from how we're marketing it and that the coaches are executing it? Because the problem is this, is that if we have a system or process and it doesn't have the heart, doesn't have everything baked into it, the big picture, then we're just running as robots. We don't know why we're doing it. That's important as well. If we have a system, we're going to use it if we know why we use it. It supports something bigger, right? So why are we doing systems for clinical and for customer service? Because we want a great experience for our patients, because we live by, at our dental practice, this philosophy. And that's why we do it, right?
Well, I just used an example actually when I was talking to an office recently about a system that we had in our office, and it was to check off that you did all the different things at the end of the day. Everybody has those. I know you do. You have a checklist and it's like turn off the lights, empty the garbage, run the suctions, all these things. And the team would just write their name at the top of the list and then draw a line through it. And I would walk through at the end of the day, lights are still on in op 4, go back. Oh, this person was supposed to have shut down op 4. So I just started calling them, because at some point you have to have accountability. Did I make them turn around? No. But did I make sure that they understood that their inaction to follow the system caused me to have to stop what I was doing, go back there, shut off the lights, empty the trash, whatever it was? Yeah, that's part of accountability to the system. We weren't getting the result. If we had left the suctions on all night long, some of you doctors have had the unfortunate scenario of showing up to flooding areas. I'm sure that happens. That is a system. Your team has to make sure that that button is pushed and that everything is shut off at the end of the day. If it doesn't, there's a consequence.
So in this case, you had the system, but they didn't follow it.
Correct. So that's where accountability comes in, right? There can't be a system and an expectation that a team member is going to follow it if there's not accountability to the system.
And also, I think if we're always checking back the system and it's evolving, I think that's important. There's a great nugget of wisdom I've heard before, and this is based on numerous studies about airplanes, that once they put checklists for airplanes, the amount of crashes and issues gone down significantly. You cannot, with flying, you cannot be 90% successful. You have to be almost infinitely positively successful, because the consequence is so great if you get it wrong. And so checklists are very, very important, which is one way of kind of putting together the systems. So kind of list for me, Shelly, what are systems, or systems that need to be created for an office? What would be, just to rattle off, like, and again, this is not going to be, because you don't have time to go through it, but like where there's so many areas that need that.
Every department has to have their own list of SOPs and systems that they need to have in place, not just the how-tos, but the why do we do it, and kind of like what you were saying, the categories of it. So our check-in process, what does that entail? Oh, it means we have to check them in whatever software. Okay, so how do you check them in that software? How do you communicate it back to your clinical team? How do you schedule? How do you answer the phones? How do you check on insurance outstanding? How often do you check on insurance outstanding? That's just off the top of my head, just a couple from the admin side. Then you've got assistants, you've got room setups, you've got how do you resupply and make sure that you're ordering properly and keeping adequate supply on hand. What else? Lab stuff, you name it. Hygienists, what is your process? What is your perio program? What is your standard of care? Like, there's so many different systems that you just need to nail down. And that's where I think a lot of teams get overwhelmed and they say, oh my gosh, it's so much work. And it is. I would never say that it's not, because it absolutely is. And you'll be coming up with a reason why you don't have time to do it until all of a sudden you are sunk and you're like, oh my gosh, we should have done that, because now my whole team is gone, or somebody just got really sick and everything was right here, or they retire and go somewhere else and all of your systems just walked out the door with that person. If they're not documented, they're not your systems. There's something that people are doing as a routine, but they're not your systems if they're not documented.
I think you made a really good point, because I think for those that are listening, I'm sure they heard it. We need systems. And I'm sure they know that systems are checklists for clinical, for practice management, for so on. The issue then, and we focus a lot about at All-Star, is action. What do we do to make it happen? And I think the first most important step is that there's got to be a priority. It's got to be prioritized. Now, not everybody is as lucky. Some are. They have a operations manager or officer or or manager that, like yourself, you were a former office manager, that has the training to take the initiative and just do it and to block out time and see the importance. Or a doctor is very systematized. It's rare, and they'll put the time during their admin to get it done. But I think there's this, I love the statement from John Wooden about if you don't have the time to do it right, when you have time to do it over,
Right.
is that we have to prioritize and block time. Whoever is going to lead this, dentists, if you don't have a manager or team member that enjoys it and will do it with a smile on their face and do it well, you're going to do it. Okay. You can also, your coach can help guide you, can help start you, can hold you accountable, but it requires time to think through. And we can show you examples. We were talking about it today. It's like coaching is not, what we do is not consulting. We're not going in there and it's consulting's more expensive, but they do everything for you, right? And it's a lot of time. Coaching is, I'm going to guide you through it and you're going to do it, right? And go step by step. So I think you have to prioritize and see the importance and block the time and do it.
Yeah, there was another way that I would do this at times when I knew something needed to be updated or I hadn't taken a look at it recently. You bring on a new hire, that's the perfect time. You're training them, and then you go over it and say, this is how we do it. I would love for you to take a look at our standard operating procedure and make sure it's still up to date, because what I just shared with you is the way that we're currently doing it here in our office. And if they see something that's off, that's a red flag. Either the person who's training them is making up their own way, because every now and then these doctors who are listening, they're going to say, oh, yep, I'm guilty. You hire somebody and they have experience. And because they have experience, they automatically go straight out there and they are an assistant the very next day, and they skip onboarding. They skip the training process. They don't ever even see your SOPs ever, because they already know how to do it. They are bringing old SOPs, old habits into your practice, and your systems are going goodbye without you even realizing it. It's happening overnight as you sleep. It's just every day that new person is training somebody else, and then you look back at your systems. Yeah, we used to do it that way. I don't know why we stopped doing it that way. I'll tell you why. It was probably because you onboarded somebody along the way who didn't follow the system, or there wasn't consistency, or there wasn't accountability. And out of those things happening, your system went away. That's why you're not doing it anymore. That's why during our coaching sessions, we'll go back through the last year and say, okay, these are the things that we've talked about over the last year. How are we doing on this as a team? Oh, yeah, that worked really well. Okay. Is it still working really well? Well, we stopped doing it. Okay. Why did you stop doing it? Because something else came, and then something else came, and it starts building, and then the overwhelm starts happening, and people just revert back to old habits. You have to stay consistent, and you have to have accountability in place, or else you're just, again, rolling the dice and hoping that you're getting the result that you wanted at the end of the day.
Just to remind everybody, SOP is standard operating procedure. I mentioned it earlier. I just want to make sure that they're familiar with the nomenclature. No. We don't want to assume. And so I like what you said, and I think this makes a lot of sense, because look, there's ideal and there's reality. Ideal is we should be able to proactively, or I wouldn't even say the word proactive is beyond that. We should be able to predict and prophesize. This is when we have to do it. We're going to know every procedure, and we're going to have the energy. But the reality is we're tired. We're doing production. Things happen. It doesn't get done. So what I like what you did, you're excited, but what I like what you did is we had to make a change in a position, and you said, this is the time I'm just going to be proactive. We need it. I see an improvement, and this triggers me to put the time. You could have said, let's just get it done. I don't want to deal with this. And now we still don't have a system. But you said, not only are we going to onboard, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity, and even the new hire, to help me make it better.
Exactly. And that was my next point, is that because if you don't have it done and you're thinking, well, I don't even have one, so how am I supposed to have this new person do it? Teach the person, have them write it. Have the new team member write it. That will tell you if they understand it. Once you know something, you can do something. Once you can teach something, in this scenario, writing it out, you can confirm, okay, they got it. There is no excuse then at that point for that new team member to do something in a different way. They literally wrote it out for you step by step on exactly how you trained it for them. They knew in that moment how to do it. So that's a huge accountability opportunity and a building of SOPs. If you're in that scenario where you're thinking, I have no team, I have no SOPs written, it's too much. As you're training, have your new team members write it down for you and build that SOP for you.
And I think that's a great idea. And we're just riffing on this. I love it. I mean, this is the power of the mastermind. I believe in, and we're doing it here at All Star, but I think in a practice, whether you're onboarding somebody new or you even have a team member, hopefully you like them. If you don't, we have a hiring service. But with that team member, what I would do, let's say you're assistant, we don't have a process, whether it's clinical and or customer services. Hey, Cindy, we need a standard operating procedure. And this is what we're thinking. And you as a visionary doctor say, this is what I'm looking. I want high level customer service. I want detail. I want a checklist. Have them work on it. Given to say within the next 30 days, I like you to work on it between, if there's time in between where you're waiting on me, or if not, I'll block time in the schedule for you to build it. What we're doing it, put it down on paper so we can also look at it together, because what I hear you saying, this is a good opportunity, a good training opportunity between the two to say, do we see on the same page? But I think as a visionary, the doctor, the big picture, here's what I want to happen. And then when you see it, much like today, when I saw what you guys did, I said, that was great what you did for coaching. And I like it, but I think it's missing something that I need to add to it. And if we didn't have it, I couldn't say it. So each position you can task them with, here's what I'm looking to do. I'll coach you, or have our dental coach at All Star, whatever, help you with it. But the point is they got to put it, and they should feel excited to make that impact. You don't want to, and we were talking about it, and you even said, Shelly, shame on you, meaning that when you left your practice, you were so invaluable, and you said that was a problem. That was something that you wish you would have saw. You didn't do it on purpose because you're so valuable. You said, it would have been more helpful if I systematize everything that I do and I became not as valuable. If you have somebody in your practice that's too valuable and they want to keep it that way, that's a problem. But if you have a good person, they say, I want to take care of the practice. And that if I'm gone, which I prefer not to, but at least I have something there that you can guide for. And I think that's a level of foresight. It's good business sense to be able to do that. And that's what we want. Nobody in that practice should be where they cannot be systematized, right? Even the dentist can be systematized, right? What does a dentist do? What do you do? Right? Because what if you're selling the project? Or what if you want to go to more admin? What if you bring on an associate? This is how we're going to do things here. And if you want to sell your practice, by the way, we do a lot of interviews with our transitions company we work with, but you want to be able to, if you have a practice, you say, hey, here's a list of all our SOPs and what we're going to do. They're going to eat that up. They're going to pay a premium for everything is put together, turnkey.
Absolutely. There is a point I do want to mention where your systems can be so inundated and so detailed, your team will never use them. So just keep that in mind as you're building these out and as you're looking at your SOPs. And if you're thinking about your systems and you're like, we have them, they don't use any of them, or they use very little, very few. They may be so complex, and in your mind, whoever built it, it made perfect sense. More detail, the better. You do need to, for lack of better terms,
dial it down. We'll dial it down.
That's a good.
You like that?
That's exactly what I was trying to think of right there, Alex. You want to dial it back a little bit, make it so simple. It can't be so complex that they can't find the system. You can't have a binder this big or an internet or a link online that goes to 5,000 different documents, and they're like searching for how to set up a CEREC crown. Like, how do I set this up? It has to be at their fingertips, super easy to use for the day-to-day tasks. And then some of the things that they don't do on a daily basis, yes, have a resource for them for that random one-off situation that comes up. But you should have really easy at your fingertips for 80% of everything that's done in your practice. Use the 80-20 rule. 80% of the things that you do, you've got an easy SOP. The random things that happen every now and then, you've got a resource for them to look to figure out how to do it. How are you going to change the trap in the lab? Doesn't happen on a daily basis, but when it does, you don't want to be, as the doctor, the one who gets to get under the sink and change that trap because it is stanky. So you want someone else to know how to do it.
I think that's the masterful point for our conclusion. And I want to highlight that because even when I was looking, again, I'm going to go back to the coaching document. See, listen, we have a whole coaching department. We're continuing to refine. But I like what you did in the coaching documents that where on an issue that's ancillary or that you have a link to a recording or more detail to go deeper into that. So you don't want to document for the coaches that it's so complex. We don't know how to start or where to go. So I think we as we conclude this I think the most important point is, yes, we have to make systems, but if we're not going to use them or they're too complicated, you just wasted your time, or it's not, I'm going to say wasted your time, but it's not usable. So we have to say, yes, you can build it, but always think, how can I make it more simple? Is this necessary? Can I link it to someone else? What systems are I using? I mean, you can do something as simple as Google Docs with tabs. You can have a whole complex system, but the best system is the one you're going to use.
Exactly.
But in general, when you construct it, you want it easy to understand. You want to say whatever you can strip off. You want to test it. You want to revisit it. So just as important as creating a system is we want a system that people are using. Now, even if you do make it simple, you do have all those things done, because listen, there are dentists and there are office managers out there for sure that can make a beautiful, beautiful program. I know you can do that. But the final piece is, can we get it done? Because even if it's as simple, the team starts doing that line through it, because something's missing. That's where the motivation, that's where you are going to be the bad guy or the tough, whatever it is, the tough teacher, and say, we are going to do it. We're going to do it right. There was a story about Steve Jobs I thought was very impressive. His father taught him to paint a fence, and he painted the front of the fence. It was beautiful. He says, what about the back of the fence? He goes, nobody sees it. Steve Jobs' dad says, I don't care. It's quality. So if you're going to allow your team to just strike it, it's just get it done, then that's the ethic. But you have to hold them accountable that I establish it's a good system. It's as simple as I can make it. My coach looked over it and checked it. That was very simple and easy to use. You got feedback. Now it's holding them accountable. And this is probably the toughest step. Other dentists is, right? You shake it. It's like, can I face that person? Because I went to dental school to just do dentistry, help people, make a decent living. But now I have to deal with people.
That's the joy of systems, though, Alex. You can blame the system. You don't have to blame the person.
I see.
Hey, what's going on with the system? Why is the system not working anymore? The lights were left on at the end of the day. Oh, you mean you didn't follow the system? Okay, so you're going to follow the system again tomorrow then, because we know we get the result that we're looking for.
Ooh, a dentist would never say it like that. That was very direct. That was very powerful. Ooh. I don't think so. No. We need better verbiage.
If we're not getting the result that we're looking for and our system is wrong, then we're never going to get the right
There
result.
You go. We got to coddle them a little bit.
Be able to blame the system.
That's right.
And when I've done team meetings like this, I remember one in particular, she was like, oh my gosh, that was the best team meeting we've had. And this is what we were talking about. We were talking about blame the system. And if you're not getting the result, look to each other and say, are we still following our system? It's easy.
And that's the emotional intelligence whereby, and even going back to the great book, the How to Win Friends and Influence People. You never want people to feel like hurt, that it's their fault or whatever. And
you're not picking on them.
No, and when you depersonalize it by saying, okay, something may be wrong with the system, or we forgot to use the system or something, let's get back to it. It's because the systems are there to protect us, and they understand, yes, because that's part of it too, what we said in the beginning, that you have This is what we stand for. Great customer service. The systems help us do that, to be able to provide that. And we, as a team, have to follow. If one doesn't follow it, something else will falter. So we have to encourage, and we say, or maybe the system was done wrong, and we can always, I like what you always do. I really value that. You never assume, presume, or anticipate. My uncle taught me that, which I love. And you live that. You say, let's not assume. Maybe something else happened. Let's not point the finger. Or maybe the system can be improved. Maybe the system wasn't clear. Let's clear it up and let's move on. Depersonalize it. But I'll tell you something, docs. If there's someone who is not willing to follow the system, to support your practice, support your vision, not a good idea. You may want to consider replacing that position. And I know a great hiring service at All-Star Dental Academy that can help you with that. We don't encourage you letting go people because it's hard out there. But if they do not follow what you believe in and they're not willing to put in the work and you've done the best that you could, then you want to make sure you have people that follow. So kind of concluding with this, I mean, I don't think any dentist or any team is going to disagree. You have a well-oiled machine, as we started with this, right? That's what the whole analogy. Everybody's on the same page. They know what they want to do. They have clear instructions and we're all following it. I use an example of football or a team. Everybody's got to play their position. There's a play filled out. And if one person drops the ball, the whole system fails. And we got to do it not just to please the doctor, but to take care of the team and to take care of the patient. And doctors, that's your job, is to be so what's the word? Maniacal, I said before, but so strict on the vision. The vision and what you stand for is bigger than yourself, and to hold everyone accountable for that process.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you, Shelly VanEpps. VanEpps. VanEpps.
Absolutely. VanEpps. Thank you for having me.
The COO, yes. Chief Operating Officer. So thank you for being on the program. We'll have you again for many more discussions. Remember, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Share with your friends. Click that link. Click your friend's link. Subscribe and follow in their phone. I'm going to keep saying it. Just find phones and subscribe.
Find phones and subscribe.
Just subscribe. It helps our ranking. Then we can share to other people, and we can just butterflies and unicorns and all that stuff. And you help make it happen. Yes. Anyways, until next time, go out there and be an all-star.
An all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All-Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.